Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new NVIDIA daily update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over NVIDIA and let's talk about what is happening to the king of the markets. Is the king about to awaken again, or is the king going back into hibernation? I'll give you my thoughts. If you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice and I'm not a financial advisor. And of course, if you enjoy my technical analysis, thoughts in the charts, updates, etc. Well, again, I do share my thoughts with my members every single day as the market's open and trading. So definitely check that out. That link is down below in the description, the top of the description. If you're interested in joining, click that. You get taken to this page where, if you wish, just for the first year, only $3 USD a month, you get access to all my Tesla updates, a different time frame analysis throughout the trading day, right? Constantly as the market's open trading, as major moves are happening. I'm always updating my members, and of course, access to the broader market updates as well, SPYs, Qs, VIX, options, flows, etc. $5 includes NVIDIA updates if you're interested in that as well, or $7 is the whole package. $7 USD a month is the whole package for tier 3. You also get access to my posts about non-Tesla, non-NVIDIA charts in the market or stocks in the market that are setting up nicely, that are worth mentioning and watching for potential nice breakouts, and access to my private Discord where I constantly, where we have a tier 3 chat room and I do chart reviews every Sunday with members. But jumping into it, NVIDIA down, unfortunately, 1% on the day, definitely underperforming the market once again, as we continue struggling around this major region. Now, I did remove this kind of major trend line I had around here, but you kind of get the point, right? I'm sure it was just too messy. I hated the way it looked, but we get the idea. Besides, the thing that really matters to me is the resolution that's coming up relatively soon on NVIDIA. So the way I'm going to explain NVIDIA here is NVIDIA setting up very similar to what Tesla set up. Now, it's a little bit on the smaller scale in my opinion, but same idea with Tesla prior to this candle. You can see Tesla had a major resistance trend line right here, but a major support trend line here. Now, Tesla could have got a little tighter, but nonetheless, it got very, or at least I should say fairly tight nonetheless, and then it broke above and then obviously had a nice little move to the upside. NVIDIA is kind of setting up somewhat similar to that, where it's also now getting smaller scale, but still getting very tight now, right? It's getting closer and closer to a potential major resolution. Could potentially take a few more days, could take maybe even until Monday or Tuesday next week. But I would expect within the week, definitely within the next week of trading days, of course, so latest by Wednesday, in my opinion, I would expect that resolution to be picked. Could be sooner, could even be tomorrow, right? But I would expect within that time frame for a resolution to be picked. Now, Tesla was better, in my opinion, and less bearish, arguably slightly more bullish, because Tesla ended up getting back above the exponential moving averages. And you can see as it did, it started turning them back into support. NVIDIA is having issues doing that. And every time it's trying to do that, it's consistently getting rejected, right? That's the problem here, which is why the setup is a little bit more risky from a bullish perspective. Doesn't mean it's zero, doesn't mean the bullish perspective is completely null and void. It just means the fact that it's not as strong of a bullish setup compared to what Tesla had going for it. Again, mainly because NVIDIA is below the exponential moving averages. Tesla was above. Simple as that, right? But nonetheless, the main thing I'll be watching for on NVIDIA is how this resolves. Watch for these two trend lines right here, this upper one right here and this bottom one right here. You can see as we're kind of ping-ponging between them, resistance, support. One of these is going to fail. One of these will fail, and then it will determine kind of that next major move on NVIDIA. And I think they're both going to resolve in about at the same percentage move. To the upside, almost an 8% move. To the downside, almost an 8% move, right? They will both resolve in about an 8% move up or down, in my opinion, not financial advice, of course. But until we get that resolution, we don't really know where it's going to go for sure. I would still give the bears the slight upper hand overall, but the bulls, they still have something going for them, right? They still have this potential bullish head and shoulders 1 hour candle pattern breakout. They're still technically holding on any retest you can see here, right? This is still arguably making, a little bit of a 1 hour kind of bull flag situation over here. So, the bulls, they have a chance. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you guys, or I guess stand here and tell you guys that the bulls have lost all their chances. It's going down for sure. No, we don't know, right? There's no clear direction just yet. And the bulls, they have potential still, right? Based on the 1 hour chart. They have not thrown away that chance just yet. But if we start closing candles below this bottom trend line, that becomes a problem. As of right now, starting as early as tomorrow, that'll be pretty much below 178, nicely below 178 roughly. Or if it takes longer than, let's say Friday, pretty much 179 at that point. That's going to be the level to watch. If we start losing that, yeah, there's a good chance we're heading lower to about 167, maybe even 165, which is the lows back here. However, if we get above this trend line, if we get above, again, if it happens sometime this week, about high 184s to about 185, right? Which is also roughly where this major resistance sat up over here. Then, NVIDIA will be bullish. I think NVIDIA will be bullish, and I think we most likely get a rally back up to closer to 195, or at the very least 190 to 195, somewhere in that $5 range, right? That's going to be the level to the upside. Again, we simply do not have a very blatant answer. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you for sure if it's going to go up or it's going to go down. I don't know. But what I do know is the fact that we have very clear, distinct levels to look out for that once broken above or below, that should give us a pretty nice indication on what to expect next on that sort of, almost 8-ish% move up or down. So let's continue monitoring that. Let's continue seeing how this overall plays out and what actually comes from it. Worth mentioning, like I mentioned before, in the previous videos, that the weekly on NVIDIA has started to show a little bit of weakness because the stochastic has fallen out of the green zone over here, you can see. So that is a bit of a problem, right? And of course, we have the weekly SMI now approaching, which is good, by the way, now approaching the bottom territory over here. Every time in the past where NVIDIA has approached these levels down here on the weekly SMI, you can see anytime it's gotten close has been pretty major bottoms in the stock, right? We've only seen these levels a few times in the past, all the way back here, which was when NVIDIA was, all the way down at like $40 per share. Then we saw it during the massive, tariff crash, if you will. And now we're actually approaching it once again. So in other words, the way I look at it is if we get lucky enough, again, count your blessings, but if we get lucky enough to see NVIDIA make it all the way down into the 150s, maybe 140s if we're like very lucky, and the SMI in the weekly time frame makes its way down back here again, it's going to be hard to ignore that opportunity, isn't it? That's going to be truly, people will be scared. People will be calling it bearish. People will call NVIDIA a dying company. And everyone was going to start telling you, again, I'm telling you right now, save this recording. If NVIDIA, that's a big if, but if NVIDIA makes its way down to 150s, let's just say it comes down to 150 to retest this weekly demand zone. If that actually happens, everyone will be telling you NVIDIA is dead. It's over. Company's done. It's a bubble, blah, 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 blah. You'll hear every single narrative possible that's bearish. When in fact, guys, hey, everyone was bullish up here, but then everyone will be bearish down here. You know what to do, right? You know what to do, right? You do the exact opposite of the herd. If everyone's bearish down here, maybe it's time to turn bullish, isn't it? So, just, keep that in mind. Food for thought. I'm just saying this now so that if the opportunity presents itself, if that actually happens in the potentially, weeks to come, maybe months, however long it takes, it doesn't, you don't get scared. That's the most important part, that you don't get scared. And then you realize that that is going to be just nothing more than a phenomenal opportunity. And I do think it'll be a phenomenal opportunity, to be completely honest with you. I think NVIDIA will be a steal at those levels if we're lucky enough to see them. I'm not saying for sure we're going to see them, but it's a non-zero chance. It's definitely a non-zero chance. Anyways, that's the main thing I got for you guys. In terms of options flow, let's take a quick peek over here on NVIDIA and see what's happening. Definitely more bullish and bearish. The bears are definitely somewhat hibernating. I did see some nice calls come in today. 175 strike for almost 6 million for January 21st, 2028 to be fair. But I also saw a 2 million call over here for January 2nd, 190 strike. So the bulls are trying to step in. Let's see if they can make it work for themselves. But short term, the main thing I'll watch for, guys, is going to be how this resolves, right? If this resolves to the downside and the 4-hour SMI can make its way to the bottom end of the spectrum near the negative 50 or lower zone, especially with the Bollinger Bands also near around that zone, this is going to be, this spot right here is the money spot short term. Otherwise, if we break to the upside, this will be the spot to watch out and maybe take profit, not financial advice. But let's see how this resolves. Big potential move coming up on NVIDIA relatively soon. So let's see. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See you tomorrow. Peace.